We're still in chapter 23, and this is going to be on the large intestine. The large intestine has 3 unique features not seen elsewhere. The first is the tinea coli, and it's 3 bands of longitudinal smooth muscle in the muscularis. The second is hostra, pocket-like sacs caused by the tone of the tinea coli. And the third is epiploic appendages, which are fat-filled pouches of the visceral peritoneum. There are subdivisions of the large intestine. The cecum is going to be the first part of the large intestine. Coming off the cecum is the appendix, which we talked about in the lymphatics chapter. And there are masses of lymphoid tissue in the appendix as part of a MALT of the immune system. And in addition to that, it also stores bacteria that are capable of recolonizing the gut if necessary. And the twisted shape of the appendix makes it susceptible to blockages. The colon has several regions. There's the ascending colon. This is going to travel up the right side of the abdominal cavity. The transverse colon goes across the abdominal cavity. The descending colon travels down the left side of the abdominal cavity. And then finally, the sigmoid colon is the S-shaped portion that travels through the pelvis. Then there's the rectum, which has 3 valves, 3 rectal valves, and then the anal canal, which is the final segment of the large intestine, and it opens up to the exterior at the anus, and it has 2 sphincters, an internal anal sphincter, which consists of smooth muscle, and an external anal sphincter, which consists of skeletal muscle. So if we look at this diagram, we have the cecum, the appendix coming off. Going up is the ascending colon, across is the transverse colon, down is the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, the rectum, and then the anal canal. In addition, we see the hostra. So this is a hostrum right here. This is an epiploic appendage, and this is the tinea coli. So the large intestine has a lot of bacteria, a whole lot of bacteria. It actually consists of over 1,000 different types of bacteria, and they outnumber our own cells 10 to 1. They enter either from the small intestine or the anus to colonize the colon, and the bacteria do have metabolic functions. One of them is fermentation. So they will ferment indigestible carbohydrates and mucin and release irritating acids and gases. And the second metabolic function is vitamin synthesis. So they synthesize B complex and some vitamin K that's needed by the liver to produce clotting factors. In addition, these bacteria keep pathogenic bacteria in check. So our beneficial bacteria outnumber and suppress the pathogenic bacteria, and the immune system will destroy any bacteria that try to breach the mucosal barrier. There is evidence that supports findings that the kinds and proportions of gut bacteria can influence an individual's body weight, susceptible to various diseases like diabetes, atherosclerosis, fatty liver disease, and our moods. So in the future, manipulating gut bacteria may become a routine healthcare strategy. So now we're going to talk about digestive processes in the large intestine. Residue remains in the large intestine 12 to 24 hours. No food breakdown occurs except what enteric bacteria digest. And vitamins that are made by the bacterial flora, water, and electrolytes are reclaimed. The major functions of the large intestine is propulsion of feces to the anus and defecation. So for motility of the large intestine, we have haustral contractions, and this is where the haustra sequentially contract in response to distension. They are slow segmenting movements, mostly in the ascending and transverse colon. And there's also the gastrocolic reflex, which is initiated by the presence of food in the stomach, and it's going to result in mass movements. And these are slow, powerful peristaltic waves that are going to be activated 3 to 4 times a day. The descending colon and sigmoid colon act as a storage reservoir. So defecation, well, the process of defecation, we have mass movements force feces toward the rectum. Distension initiates the spinal defecation reflex. Remember, distension is stretching. And you may have talked about the defecation reflex when you talked about reflexes at the end of AMP1. But parasympathetic signals stimulate the contraction of the sigmoid, colon, and the rectum. It's going to relax that internal anal sphincter. Remember, that's composed of smooth muscle. And then conscious control allows the relaxation of the external anal sphincter, which is composed of skeletal muscle. And then the muscles of the rectum contract to expel feces. This is the question for this section. That is all I have for you for this segment.